5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey gang, Mark Sweeney here from Wisdom Wednesday. If you tried to tune in last week, you may realize that my second week in Italy, I was all ready to do a really good Italian version of Rocktober with a huge rock in the background called Mount Vesuvius. And the day that I was going to film it on Wednesday, it looked like the San Francisco Bay Area when the fog comes in. You couldn't see the building across the street, much less Mount Vesuvius 10 miles away, 10 kilometers away, whatever. And the next day I said, so we'll do it tomorrow, because I was there on Thursday as well, and it was the same. It was actually raining and foggy, so I couldn't do Wisdom Wednesday Rocktober Italy version with this huge rock in the background. But I did my research and I can't pass up this opportunity. So just pretend like there's this huge volcano back behind me, because that's what you would have seen last week. Mount Vesuvius became famous for erupting in 1169 AD. And that was a long time ago. And it had a huge eruption. The mountain originally was 6,400 feet tall, which is puny by Colorado standards, where routinely the mountains in Colorado are 10 to 12,000 feet and have snow on the top. Vesuvius was right on the coastline on a fairly temperate climate and did never have snow on it. But it was an active volcano, and it had erupted numerous times before 1169, just not as powerful. Scientists estimate that the eruption in 1169 was 100,000 times the similarity of Nagasaki or Hiroshima with the A-bombs in 1944. So 100,000 times more powerful. It shot rock and sulfuric gases 21 miles into the air. So when I grew up, my grandmother was a geography teacher, and she actually taught us all about Pompeii being inundated by hot lava, and that's what killed all the people. Actually, when you're over there and you find out the history, most of the people got killed by the random falling rocks from 21 miles up that had gotten shot up, and what goes up must come down. And I'm sure those rocks were kind of hot too. But a rock falling on you from 21 miles up is going to smart no matter what. It killed all 1,000 people that were at the base of the volcano way before the lava started flowing down. And that's what preserved the city of Pompeii under like 17 feet of lava and sediment that fell down, because all the dust that shot down. You saw the towers fall in New York. Well, this had to be thousands of times magnitude more than that. But anyway, it's a pretty spectacular sight. That mountain got reduced from 6,400 feet to 4,200 feet with that one blast. And the last time, I thought this was interesting as well, the last time that Mount Vesuvius erupted was actually 1944, right at the end of World War II. And it didn't even really make the news because there was other stuff going on in Europe, and it wasn't anywhere near the magnitude of the blast in 1169. So that was my Rocktober from last week in a Cliff Notes version. So I also learned a lot about olive oils and virgin olive oils and extra virgin olive oils, and I still can't tell how they can tell which is which from looking at those olives, and nobody could tell me. So anyway, that's my olive oil joke for the week. So now let's get on to next week will be the last Rocktober in the month of October. So this week, I'm back in Austin, obviously, and we're going to talk about metabolic syndrome, which we've actually talked about or covered different aspects of it a couple of times on Wisdom Wednesdays, and something that is fairly simple to do. I've unknowingly been doing it for many years before I ever heard the term intermittent fasting, but there are you can look it up online and learn more than I'm going to tell you today about it, but there are at least 3 different categories of intermittent fasting. I do the 8-16 one, which means 16 hours each day. I don't really eat much at all, and 90% of my caloric intake is in that 8 hours, usually between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. And I've just been doing that out of force from lifestyle for over 20 years now. Most of my caloric intake is between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. and I didn't even know I was doing intermittent fasting. It just worked for me. But there are other ones that are 12 and 12. There are 12 and 6. I don't know. Do the math. It all adds up to 24 hours, but there are different versions of intermittent fasting. But this research that we're going to go through today was done by the Salk Institute, Jonas Salk, who invented the polio vaccine. But they found there was a direct correlation between intermittent fasting and metabolic disease. Our metabolic syndrome is metabolism, which we've covered fairly recently on Wisdom Wednesday, is the way your body processes the things that you put into it, food and drink. And some people have problems with metabolizing that, mainly through the gut bacteria in your intestinal system, small intestine and large intestine. And so at the Salk Institute, they found that people that were doing intermittent fasting, mainly the 12 and 8, they only eat for an 8-hour period during the day and then they fast for the rest of the day. But they found that they had an increase in cardiac health, which cardiovascular system, and that people that were suffering from metabolic syndrome actually had a decrease in symptoms and an increase in health level. So they studied 108 adults, which is not really a huge sample, at UC San Diego School of Medicine. So right here in the United States, which a lot of these studies that we quote on Wisdom Wednesdays are from some other country, but this adds a little more weight to it to me that it was right here in California at a medical school. They did a 3-month trial period where they put intermittent fasters. Some of the group was intermittent fasting and some of them were not. And they saw lower levels of hemoglobin A1C, which is a marker in your body for inflammation and for long-term blood sugar control. They found a 3 to 4% greater decrease in body weight and body mass index and abdominal trunk fat. So if you're trying to lose weight, this might be a helpful way to do that, because these people on the intermittent fasting did lose 3 to 4% more weight than the people who weren't intermittent fasting. The guy that ran the study said our bodies actually process, and they didn't teach us this in dental school 40 years ago, but this doctor said that bodies process sugars and fats very differently depending on the time of day that food is ingested. I had never heard that till I read this study, but it does make sense that you could use intermittent fasting as a supplemental way to achieve whatever goals you're trying to do, whether you're trying to recover from a disease or if you're just trying to maintain a healthy weight, which is why I continue to eat on that plan. So look up intermittent fasting. You can find a wealth of information on the internet that goes way more into detail, and pick a plan that sounds like it works for you and give it a try. There's no real downside to it. So my health tip for the week. I have had many patients come in and several friends that are doing their version of either, they call it Mocktober or Sober October, where they're cutting alcohol out for the month of October. And why would they be doing that? Well, some of them said they're trying to lose a little bit of weight before the holidays come, and they're going to start drinking again at Thanksgiving and carry it on through the Christmas party season. But there have been studies on it, and the studies show that a 30-day break, just a 30-day break in drinking alcohol, can improve your health by repairing liver damage, decreasing your risk of heart disease, reducing the risk of cancer, help with weight loss, which we talked about already earlier, improved memory, and improved sleep. Now, I don't know that I buy 100% of that, but there is a study that says that just a 30-day absolute stop in alcohol consumption could improve all those different things. So you might have heard about it already. There's another group that does it always every January after the holidays. We're not going to bring it up again, but anyway, if it suits you, hey, go for it. It's not hurting anybody. Just like intermittent fasting, I say if it works for you, go for it. Have a good time, and I'll see you next week for our last October, Rocktober version of Wisdom Wednesday.